Kia ora koutou and welcome to part 2 of this course, which focuses on fitting in, being part of the group. Your previous videos focused on consumer culture, but for the next few weeks we shift gear and consider what it means to be part of a group. So we look at sport, toys, weddings and phones to interrogate issues of race, gender, family and the virtual world. But we kick off this week with Chapter 5, Shopping Lessons, Consuming Social Order. Think about the last time you hit the shops. Did you go on your own or with friends? Did you go to get stuff that you need or stuff that you just want? Or were you just window shopping? Did you only buy what you went for? Or did you come home with half a dozen extra shopping bags? This week we look at shopping and our shopping practices, including its social function and the way it establishes social order. There are quite a few key concepts that you'll be introduced to this week, some of which you've heard before: social order, social solidarity and anomie, as well as totems, social facts and collective conscience. Drawing heavily on the work of Emile Durkheim and a functionalist account of society, we'll use these concepts to consider the extent to which shopping unites us, bringing us together in our love of cool new stuff that we need or want, or the extent to which shopping fosters and responds to social isolation. So our first key concept is social order, which refers to the degree of stability, order, cohesion in society. How well do we, in all our diversity, hold together? Different theorists think about social order in different ways, but Durkheim focuses on the shared values and social norms that might or might not exist in society, values that integrate a society and allow it to function as a whole. This brings us to the second key concept, also introduced by Durkheim: social solidarity. Social solidarity refers to the sense of we-ness that's created when we do have clear social norms that shape the things we do, when we have shared social values, and when there's interactions between social groups. Durkheim thought that strong social solidarity would mean that we'd all feel part of the group, part of something bigger than ourselves, and that would make us feel less isolated, less empty, or full of despair, something described by Durkheim as anomie. But when we-ness is threatened and the traditional social glue, such as religion, no longer has the authority it once did for us, where do we turn? Well, arguably, we go shopping. A few weeks ago, Peter introduced you to Durkheim's idea of totems, an object that is worshipped in such a way that it gives us a shared sense of purpose and solidarity. In the context of this week, the shopping mall is the totem. In fact, it's been described as the temple of commodity capitalism. Shopping is the new religion. One of the things that bind us at the mall or shopping centre is that we know what Durkheim called the social facts of this place: the laws, the social norms and the social expectations. So at the mall, we know we have to park in a designated park. We know we have to pay for our goods. We know we can't barter. We know we have to queue. We know we can't try clothes on in the middle of the store. We just know how to behave in a shopping mall. He called this collective conscience, a normative sense of the group and what's right, which shapes our behaviour in powerful ways. Okay, but this is all sounding a bit abstract. I mean, when you go to the mall or your local shopping centre, you're not thinking about worshipping at the altar of capitalism, are you? That's because what Durkheim offers us is a macro-sociological theory of how society functions, which means he analyses social systems and structures. And remember too, he didn't actually apply his theory to shopping or shopping malls. Others have done this using his concepts. But the flip side of structure is, of course, agency. You remember our second thinking frame: structure, agency. So let's focus our attention now on agency. Why do we shop? Why is shopping so seductive for so many of us? What motivates us to go shopping? And what other sociological concepts beyond Durkheim might be useful for us to think about our practices of consumption? Well, of course, a lot of the time we have to go. As we've discussed in previous videos, in pre-modern times, goods were exchanged and bartered in marketplaces. But the rise of capitalism brought wage labour and shopping as we know it. But it's not a chore all the time, is it? For many of us, shopping is a social act. It's something we do with our friends or family. We hang out at the mall, we go window shopping, we go rummaging for bargains at the hospice shops. Even if we go alone, we're still surrounded by people and we're still expected to interact with those people who serve us. And as a social act, it allows us to firm up our group identities. But what other motivations are in play? Well, the act of shopping isn't always a unifying social experience. For some, a sense of anomie and social isolation produces serious shopping problems, such as compulsive buying disorder or the clocking up of inordinate amounts of debt. For some, it's about bargain hunting and getting the best deal possible. Sociologists often refer to this as the rational choice model, because it's rational to choose products that offer the best value for money, right? Perhaps, but it's certainly not always how we work. Often we're very happy to pay extra for the rose gold picture frame, even though it's exactly the same as the cheaper black one. And we're willing because it helps us to distinguish ourselves from others. And it lets others know that we know that rose gold is the new black. Distinction is an idea introduced by Pierre Bourdieu that highlights the social factors and meaning that we assign to stuff. It often reveals a social snobbery that aligns us with others we identify with, and importantly, clearly distinguishes us from others. The ways we distinguish ourselves exposes a classist society. So our practices of consumption are powerfully linked to our identity, the story we tell about ourselves, which might be related to our class, our gender, ethnicity, age, etc. And ultimately, when we buy things, we balance a complex calculation of emotional, habitual, cultural, social, and economic factors. So shopping is at once very individual and very social. Shopping helps us to fit in with our social group and affirm our sense of belonging and distinguish ourselves from others. And it's about the material stuff that we buy and the cultural meaning we ascribe to that stuff, or the very act of shopping itself. So next time you go shopping, I want you to think about structure and agency, the second of our thinking frames. To what extent do you think you have a choice in your shopping practices, what to buy, where to buy, who to buy with? Or to what extent do you think you're being influenced by social, cultural, and economic forces that are beyond your control? That's it from me for today. Bye for now.